Jamie Lee Curtis, rare photos and untold crazy life story. Jamie Lee Curtis is known as horror's ultimate scream queen and one of Hollywood's most iconic sex symbols. But did you know her life has been marked by heartbreaking struggles and hidden battles? Behind the fame, Jamie faced tragedies that many of her fans never knew about, and she carried a dark secret she believed could destroy her career and even her life. What were the challenges she endured, and what was this hidden truth? Let's dive into her story, uncovering the untold moments and rare photos that reveal who she truly is. Born in 1958 to Hollywood legends Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis, Jamie Lee Curtis entered the world of fame with an iconic lineage. Her parents were the Brad and Angelina of their era, dominating the silver screen and captivating audiences worldwide. Tony Curtis, originally named Bernard Schwartz, starred alongside Hollywood giants like Paul Newman and shared the screen with bombshells like Marilyn Monroe in classics such as Some Like It Hot. Meanwhile, Janet Leigh, born Jeanette Helen Morrison, held her own with legends like Frank Sinatra and Gary Cooper and became immortalized in film history with her unforgettable shower scene in Psycho, 1960. A role that earned her a Golden Globe and an Academy Award nomination. Growing up amidst such stardom, Jamie was exposed to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood from an early age. However, her parents' highly publicized divorce when she was just a child brought challenges that would shape her life and career. Despite the shadows cast by her family's fame and personal struggles, Jamie was destined to carve out her own path. She not only embraced her heritage but also made a name for herself, becoming a celebrated actress in her own right. Before they became Hollywood royalty, Jamie Lee Curtis's parents, Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh, came from incredibly humble beginnings. Born Bernard Schwartz, Tony grew up in New York City's rough streets, the son of Hungarian, Jewish immigrants. His family struggled financially, and Tony faced a harsh upbringing marked by poverty and anti-Semitism. At one point, he and his brother were even placed in an orphanage due to his parents' financial hardships. Tony's challenging childhood fueled his drive for success, and he often spoke of his desire to escape poverty and make something of himself. Janet Leigh's story was no less remarkable. Born Jeanette Helen Morrison, she grew up in Stockton, California, with Danish and Scots-Irish heritage. Raised by her single mother, who worked tirelessly to make ends meet, Janet understood the value of hard work from an early age. Her beauty and poise caught the attention of Hollywood scouts, leading to her eventual rise to fame. Despite her glamorous career, Janet remained grounded, instilling in her children a strong sense of resilience and humility. These early struggles deeply shaped both Tony and Janet's values, giving them an unyielding work ethic and a sense of gratitude for their success. They carried these lessons into their parenting, with Jamie growing up, understanding both the privileges of stardom and the importance of staying true to one's roots. Their experiences taught Jamie not to take success for granted and to approach her own career with humility and compassion.
My father was from Hungary and my mother was from Denmark, and they had nothing.
Jamie explained, and they became these monstrous stars in this industry that they loved so much. This deep respect for hard work and resilience became a core part of Jamie's own character. Raised with an understanding of both privilege and struggle, she learned early on to balance fame with humility, shaping her into the grounded yet fierce woman Hollywood knows today. While growing up in the Hollywood spotlight might sound like a dream, Jamie Lee Curtis's childhood was far from glamorous. Born during the height of her parents' fame, she was, in her own words, a save-the-marriage baby. An attempt by Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis to mend their crumbling relationship. By the time I came along, my parents' bond had deteriorated precipitously as their stardom grew, Jamie revealed. And like any other save-the-marriage baby, I failed. Jamie's childhood was marked by a profound sense of isolation. With her parents, Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh, constantly in the limelight, she was often left behind as they juggled demanding careers and public lives. Tony's roles in major films and Janet's work as a Hollywood icon meant that Jamie grew up under a glamorous yet fragile image of Hollywood royalty. Beneath this facade, though, was a young girl grappling with loneliness and the complexities of fame. She later revealed that her parents' relationship was strained and often tumultuous, a reality that contradicted their public image as Hollywood's perfect couple. Please comment yes if you support her. Jamie's early exposure to both the highs and lows of stardom shaped her perspective on fame, creating a deep understanding of its cost. She learned firsthand that the glamour of Hollywood often came at the expense of privacy, stability, and real connection. This awareness later influenced her decision to protect her own family from the spotlight, ensuring that her children had a more grounded upbringing. The hardships she faced growing up gave her the resilience and empathy that would come to define her career and advocacy work, making her not only a celebrated actress but also a voice for others navigating the complexities of fame. Like many Hollywood power couples, Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh's marriage ended in a bitter public divorce. Tony's infidelity played a major role, with his most notorious affair being with Marilyn Monroe, who, at the time, was also married. Their relationship was complicated and intense. Monroe even became pregnant with Tony's child. He described the affair as unforgettable, sharing intimate details in his later years. "When I was in bed with Marilyn, I was never sure before, during, or after where her mind was," he recalled. "She was an actress. She could play a part. She could give the part what she thought a man wanted. I never asked for more." Tragically, Monroe suffered a miscarriage, a heartbreaking twist in their already tangled romance. This scandal cast a shadow over Tony and Janet's marriage, eventually leading to their highly publicized split. Jamie grew up amid the turbulence, witnessing firsthand the highs and lows of Hollywood's golden era. A perspective that would later influence her own approach to relationships and fame. At 37, Tony Curtis left Janet Leigh for a 17-year-old German actress, a decision that brought heartbreak and public humiliation to Jamie's mother. Janet suffered public embarrassment as Tony chose a 17-year-old replacement. Jamie reflected. She felt the slings and arrows of tabloid gossip and innuendo. Jamie was just 3 years old when her parents divorced, and the bitterness between them left a lasting impact. "My parents hated each other my whole life," she confessed. "I was raised in a house of hatred for the other." Growing up amidst that tension shaped Jamie in ways few could imagine. Shortly after the divorce, Jamie's mother married stockbroker Robert Brandt, whom Jamie grew to see as a father figure. But just as her family life was starting to stabilize, a national tragedy overshadowed her 5th birthday. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963. "It was the hardest thing we ever did, but both of us had to go through with it," Jamie recalled. How can you cancel a 5-year-old's birthday? Adding to the family's challenges, Jamie's father, Tony Curtis, struggled publicly with addiction, which affected Jamie deeply. At school, classmates taunted her, especially after her father was arrested for drug possession. "They even made up a little rhyme about me," she remembered. "Your father's Tony Curtis, and your mother's Janet Leigh. Your father just got busted, and your mother is free." Leave a comment with the number 1 if you feel poor for her childhood. After high school, where she was a cheerleader, Jamie enrolled at the University of the Pacific to study law, but she quickly realized it wasn't for her. Reflecting on it, Jamie admits, "It was one of the only schools I got into. I was not a scholar. Let's just cut to the chase. I was accepted as a legacy, basically in automatically because my mom was an alumna." Despite her family connections, Jamie knew law wasn't her path. This experience marked the beginning of her journey to find her true calling, one that would ultimately lead her to Hollywood and her own iconic career. After just 1 semester, Jamie dropped out of college to pursue acting. With 2 famous parents in the industry, she quickly landed a few small roles, including a part on the TV show Operation Petticoat, a spin-off of the movie her father, Tony Curtis, had starred in alongside Cary Grant. Jamie hoped this would be her big break, but her dreams were crushed when she was let go after the first season. Heartbroken, she felt like her career might be over before it had even started. For a while, she took on small parts, struggling to make a name for herself. Then came her breakthrough in horror. Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't the 1978 classic Halloween that launched her career, though the film was a runaway success, made on a tight budget of $320,000 and grossing a huge $55 million. Jamie's true breakout came with the 1980 horror film The Fog, where she finally found the recognition she'd been waiting for, and the roles began to pour in. In 1983, Jamie experienced a life-changing moment that led to one of the most heartbreaking periods of her life. While working on the film Grandview, USA, the parents of a seriously ill 12-year-old girl approached the production company, hoping to raise funds to cover her medical bills. That's when Jamie met Lori Hill, a young girl who had become the first successful heart transplant recipient at Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh. Moved by her story, Jamie stepped up to help the family raise the money they needed. But she didn't just support them financially. Jamie and Lori grew close, forming a deep and meaningful friendship. "Lori and I became friends," Jamie shared. Tragically, Lori passed away 8 years later at just 20 years old, leaving Jamie heartbroken. In Lori's memory, Jamie donated VCRs and a library of movies to the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, bringing a touch of joy to young patients. But she didn't stop there. "I called Children's Hospital Los Angeles and said, 'Hi, it's Jamie Lee Curtis. I was born and raised here. Might I help?'" Jamie later expressed that there's no greater pain than seeing a child suffer, and no greater purpose than helping a child in need. While Jamie was dealing with her grief in public, her private life was unraveling under the weight of a dark secret she feared could destroy everything. Her career, reputation, and public image all felt fragile. In an interview, someone asked, "You had this secret. Were you worried that when you let it out, you'd lose jobs? You were doing commercials?" Jamie's response was revealing. "Well, any secret is fearful. And there's a recovery phrase that says, 'You're only as sick as your secrets.'" During this difficult time, Jamie faced even more scrutiny on set. While filming Perfect with John Travolta, a cameraman refused to shoot her one day, claiming her eyes were too puffy. This hurt deeply, as she'd struggled with naturally puffy eyes since childhood. "If you see photographs of me as a child, I look like I haven't slept," she shared. "I've just always been that person." Jamie recalled the sting of the moment, feeling almost like she was the crap keeper. In 1989, after finishing filming, Jamie made a decision that nearly derailed her life and career. Embarrassed and overwhelmed by years of feeling self-conscious about her appearance, she opted for routine plastic surgery to reduce her natural puffiness. "I was so mortified and so embarrassed and had just so much shame about it," she admitted. But things took a darker turn when doctors prescribed her painkillers. Though they didn't help with her pain, Jamie became addicted, a secret she would carry for over a decade.
"I was sick. I was very, very sick, and yet no one knew it because I was fabulous,"
she later revealed. During this hidden struggle, Jamie faced moments she would come to regret deeply, including using substances once with her own father, a choice that still haunts her. During Jamie's intense battle with addiction, tragedy struck even closer to home. In 1994, her brother Nicholas, a talented musician, artist, and aspiring actor, died of an overdose at just 23 years old, the same demon she was struggling to defeat. The following year brought more heartbreak when she lost a dear friend, Richard Frank, a co-star from her show Anything But Love. Jamie described Rick as her spiritual husband, a rare and profound connection in the workplace. It's rare in a work environment to fall in love with somebody like that, to be a great friend, and he was that in spades, she shared. During the series, Rick revealed he was HIV positive, a diagnosis that carried deep stigma at the time. Many who called themselves his friends turned away, but Jamie stood by him, publicly supporting him and proudly calling him her friend. Sadly, Rick passed away in 1995, marking Jamie's third devastating loss in 5 years. all while she secretly battled her own addiction. To call her life a nightmare would be an understatement. If the 1990s were marked by loss and struggle, the 2000s brought Jamie Lee Curtis even more heartbreak. In 2004, she lost her mother, Janet Leigh. Just 5 years later, her stepfather, Robert Brandt, the man she considered her true father, also passed away. And then, in 2010, Jamie faced the loss of her biological father, Tony Curtis. But it wasn't just his death that wounded her. It was his final painful act. Tony Curtis had rewritten his will to exclude his children entirely, including Jamie. The exclusion was no accident. His will stated, "I acknowledge the existence of my children and have intentionally and with full knowledge chosen not to provide for them." It wasn't the loss of inheritance that hurt Jamie, but the pointed choice to leave her out. Despite the tragedies and challenges she has endured, Jamie Lee Curtis has remained resilient, focusing her energy on helping others and spreading compassion. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and comment, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated. See you in the next video.